Well, there was no doubt in my mind that I was doing the right thing.
I'm Jonathan Milne, presenter of the new podcast Powder Keg for newsroom.co.nz and DELVE. This is a story we couldn't have told without some brave people around the world who blew the whistle on the actions of Chris the Kiwi Ashenden.
You can stop the feet.
Some work for his billion-dollar company AG1. Some work for a New Zealand contract manufacturer that makes his world-famous green powder supplement. And this woman, Donna Chisholm, alerted other families who were victims of a criminal property scam he was running way back in 2006. They must have welcomed you. I was delighted to get this information.
Oh, absolutely not. Let me ask you, what whistleblower hasn't had to run off in hiding, been condemned, criticised, and put a bit like Joan of Arc, pour petrol over and burn her now.
Well, after nearly a year looking into AG1 and its founder, Chris Ashenden, me and podcast producer Mike Wesley-Smith flew down to Invercargill, in the deepest south of New Zealand. We wanted to talk to the regular Kiwi families who had lost money in this property scam. It took us weeks and weeks to find them. We wanted to know if Chris Ashenden had ever paid these families back, like he said he had, and we wanted to track down Donna Chisholm.
And I thought, well, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and some banks got to have this information. This money's going somewhere. They came back to me in the bank and said, well, you don't exist. You don't have a mortgage here.
In the end, this story has taken us from the Invercargill cold to a scorching record heat wave in Mexico. We've gone from the chaotic streets of Colombia to an idyllic Caribbean resort to find Chris Ashenden and put these people's questions to him.
G'day, you guys from AG1?
Yes, sir.
I'm Jonathan Milne from Newsroom. I emailed you to set up the interview.
Jonathan, what are you doing here? Yes, sir.
Following you guys never replied, so I had to...
So why did we have to follow Chris Ashenden all the way to Playa del Carmen? Good question. His green powder nutritional supplement AG1 is a really big deal.
One supplement company raking in $115 million in funding for a $1.2 billion valuation, and this would be Athletic Greens.
At first I thought Chris's business success with AG1 was a great story of a Kiwi boy made good.
Because I saw it on Instagram. Everyone is drinking it. It's called AG1.
But when he and his PR company became evasive about fronting for an interview, my journalistic radar started bleeping, and so I started digging deeper. Chris was a North Shore private schoolboy, but his first real job was as a beat cop at the Rough and Ready Wirry police station in South Auckland. He hated it. He just wanted to make money. And so in his downtime from police shifts, he began designing the property scam that would eventually put him on the other side of the law.
I think I was a millionaire about 6 months later. But not that was sort of the main goal, it was just a milestone I'd set myself.
So that's Chris, and these are some of the people he ripped off. Donna Chisholm was the original whistleblower, but soon Mike and I tracked down more and more people who'd given evidence about losing money. Chris's marketing said that they would own their own home, but in fact, and unbeknown to them, he never transferred the title to them. He did at least 150 of these deals in Invercargill and in Auckland. Some people did gain title to their own home. Some people lost their home and most of the money they'd put into it. For Matt Hill and his partner Narina, it was their only chance to own their own home. They'll be renting till they die. Chris Ashenden's company never paid them the reparations that the court ordered. Do you think given that he's obviously got the money now, do you think he should pay his dues, pay his reparations?
Of course, why shouldn't he? Go back and pay his debts. Geez, they always chase their poor man up. Well, I've been paying my debts and I ain't got much, but I still end up paying my debts.
Up in New Zealand's biggest city, Auckland, there were a dozen or more victims who gave evidence to investigators for the Commerce Commission. One of them was Anita Mika. She and her sister Asanati had both bought houses through Ashenden's scheme. Chris's one-man company never paid Anita the $5,000 it was ordered to pay, and a token sum for her sister arrived too late. Asanati had died, and Anita still thinks it was the stress that contributed to her death. And she ultimately lost her home, didn't she?
Yeah, she lost hers.
And she died without ever seeing justice done. In total, Chris's 3 companies were ordered to pay $182,000 in reparations and fines. They never did. For some of his victims, it was adding insult to injury.
We can forgive, but we never forget. That's the thing. We can forgive, but we never forget. He didn't feel anything about what he did. Am I right?
Well, I don't know. I haven't talked to him yet. I'd like to talk to him. A judge in Auckland District Court was in no doubt when he handed down 43 criminal convictions.
There are in this offending strong elements of cynicism and the calculated exploitation of people struggling financially.
Well, we've spoken to past and present employees of a company called Alaron in Nelson in New Zealand. It's a contract manufacturer where Chris made all his AG1. That's allowed him to proudly boast that it was made in New Zealand until it became more cost effective to quietly shift production to Utah in the States. That contributed to Alaron laying off 180 staff in the past year.
It's a cautionary tale about what not to do. All eggs, one basket, major catastrophe. That's the number one reason for all the layoffs.
On the other side of the Pacific, there's Travis Edwards, a former senior employee at AG1 in California. He went to court alleging he was unlawfully dismissed for raising concerns about mould on the products. AG1, of course, denied it. It was settled out of court. Me and Mike Wesley-Smith, the Powder Keg producer, have spent a lot of time together in cars and taxis and planes. We've talked to one person after another. Invercargill, Auckland, Alaron and Nelson, Australia, USA, Mexico. Some spoke of AG1 consumers suffering liver injury.
As we, the employees, have been told, but very few people have been told that, and is generally reserved for a legal matter with the Chief Legal Counsel of Athletic Greens.
Or about a fall-off in sales.
The company missed their internal revenue forecasts in the last 12 months, by a lot. That's why there's a management shakeup.
And as they all recounted their dealings with Chris Ashenden, we kept going back to him and to his company, asking more questions, asking for that interview. But no cigar. Instead, what happened was they called an online meeting of all 300 of their staff around the world.
I haven't always fully spoken in detail about the mistakes I made with each and every one of you, frankly. In the very earliest days when a lot of this stuff happened, that was mainly probably driven by embarrassment.
Thanks to another whistleblower, we have a recording of this meeting.
I lost all my investors' money and my parents' money from that other business, and by 2010 I ended up declaring bankruptcy.
But nowhere in this mea culpa does he mention his 43 criminal convictions. Nowhere does he mention the warrant for his arrest. Nowhere does he mention the $182,000 in unpaid fines and reparations. Nowhere does he talk about the people who got hurt. And nowhere does he say sorry. It's still changing by the day. But with all the information these concerned individuals have given us, we've been able to do what we promised, which is put their questions to Chris Ashenden in person and by email. AG1 emailed us a statement in which he offered his deep apologies to anyone who was hurt as a result of his decisions. The day after we sent a last set of questions to Chris Ashenden, he resigned as chief executive. He left the new CEO to answer the question about revenues. The company insisted that his resignation had nothing to do with the fact that he kept so much so quiet from his team, from his company, from his customers. We promised all these people we would tell their stories, and we are. We've just launched a podcast. It's called Powder Keg with newsroom.co.nz and DELVE, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts.